Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. We've got, unsurprisingly, another One Piece review to do. Specifically the first arc in the Sky Island saga. I believe it's called the Jaya Island or the Jaya Arc or something along those lines. I'm not 100% sure. I've never been fantastic with the pronunciation in One Piece. So if someone wants to clear that up, I would appreciate it. Now, what can we talk about in this arc? First of all, let's talk about all of the foreshadowing in it. Now, obviously, I don't mean all of the foreshadow that I have noticed. I'm talking about all of the foreshadowing that I have not noticed. Now, the thing about this arc is I have a feeling that after I read, like, the next arc, I should come back and reread this one and just see all of the amazing foreshadowing I've missed. Because going into this arc, there was just so much, like, seemingly randomness. There was so much, like, character perspective jumping when we, like, had Buggy the Clown. We jumped to Shanks, we jumped to Whitebeard, we jumped to Blackbeard. I actually really enjoyed the inclusion of Blackbeard, and we'll talk about that a little later on. And there were just so many, like, odd perspective jumps. And a lot of it really didn't make sense when you were reading it, but, you know, there are some really interesting points that do get recontextualized through this story. Specifically, my favorite part is when we get, right towards the end, the information that Blackbeard and all of those people that were seemingly incredibly random, but, like, oddly dangerous, it was recontextualized that they were actually Blackbeard's crew. Like, there was the sick guy giving explosive apples to people that almost blew up Luffy. There was the sniper guy that shoots the seagull at the beginning of the arc. There was, like, that wrestling guy that was challenging people to wrestle him. There was the guy that Luffy gets into the argument with at the bar about, like, you know, the deliciousness of the meat or the deliciousness of the cherry pie that they're eating. And, like, that's the most interesting point that does get recontextualized as it's actually Blackbeard, because after Luffy and Zoro don't fight against the hyena and they get dragged out, they do encounter him again. And it's, like, perceived as a positive encounter, so it's just really interesting how everything turns around. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. We should probably take this review from the beginning. So I said in my last review when I was talking about Alabasta that I thought that the king carried Luffy and Robin out of the catacombs or the tomb or whatever. But at the beginning of this one, we get a flashback where we see Robin giving an antidote to the king to give to Luffy, and then Luffy carries them out of the tomb. And in that moment, we learn a little bit more about, like, Robin and the information surrounding her. And I have no doubt that she is going to be, like, joining the crew, because she does have a sad backstory. She has a dream. She was just about to give up on that dream, and, like, she was ready to die in that tomb. And she says something to Luffy along the lines of, like, I've given up on my dreams, just leave me here to die. And Luffy's like, why the hell should I listen to you? And then saves her life, and is probably going to facilitate her dream, because that's what Luffy does. After that, we come to a point, like, after that flashback, we come to a point where, you know, I was not expecting this at all. In all of my reviews, I've been saying, like, oh, wow, you know, this has been really great, this has been really great, you know, it's really great that Oda has set up, you know, the log pose, or he set up the fact that they have to stay at a different island for certain amounts of time, or, you know, the explanations of the climates, or the explanations of why some islands are in the future and some islands are in the past, and all that. And I was constantly praising that, like, the fact is that they've set all this up from the beginning so they can tell whatever story that they want to tell. Now, the story that I was not expecting them to tell at all is, why is the log pose round? With all the, like, foreshadowing and setup that has happened throughout this entire series, the one thing that I was not expecting, the one direction I was not expecting them to go, was up. And when that happened, when, like, the arrow was pointing straight up and they were like, oh wow, there must be a floating island above us, I was just like, did this guy plan this from the beginning? Is that why he made the log pose round? Because just from, like, an artistic standpoint, that is kind of an odd thing to do. Like, he could have easily just, like, made a regular flat compass. So I was just sitting there thinking, did he actually, when he was, inventing the log pose when he was writing it, came up with the idea, did he actually think, hey, we'll put it on a dome so the needle doesn't just go like horizontally where it wants to go, it also goes like up and down? And that's something I didn't even think about until just now. Is there going to be like Atlantis? Is there going to be underwater cities as well? I would be willing to bet a significant amount of money that at some point they will have their log pose pointing directly down to a sunken city. I mean, there are underwater rivers, so that does make sense. You know what, I'm pinning that as an official prediction. Like, if they can go to a sky island, they will go to an undersea island as well. But just on that point, this arc finished when they were going up the water spout and they were just reaching the clouds. So I don't actually know what happens next yet. The last thing I saw is them like going up the water spout and like Nami's like, if there's wind and there's water, I can navigate on us. So bloody grab that rudder, do whatever with that sail, I'm going to navigate us up this water spout. Which is a moment that I actually really liked in Nami's story, because it did feel really good for her to be like, did you forget that I'm the navigator on this ship? Because in the story we did see her feeling a little bit down on herself and a little bit down on her skills and like the things that she's thinking, because she believed in the Sky Island and everybody was just like laughing at her the whole time. And her friends refused to like beat up the people that were laughing at her. So she had like, the really hurt ego. She was really like down on herself. So it was really great in that moment to see her just be like, poof, I'm the best navigator. Grab that thing, do that other thing. I'm gonna sail this ship into the sky. And somehow that brings us on to talking about the monkey pirates. Now, when I first saw the monkey pirates, I was like, I really want to see this episode of the TV show. Just like the ridiculousness of them and the way that they speak and laugh and the noises that they make. I have a feeling that it would be a very good or like funny or just entertaining episode to watch because of all of that ridiculousness. I did really like those monkey brothers, and I did like their boss that they were working for. It was interesting to me that they weren't devil fruit users. I thought that they might have been like Chopper, where, he was a reindeer that ate the human fruit. I thought maybe they were monkeys that ate the human fruit, or humans that ate the monkey fruit. But then obviously that wouldn't have made sense because their entire, story, their entire character revolves around them diving, looking for this lost treasure. I'll also say that this one took a bit of like a darker turn than I was expecting, right? We get like the ridiculousness of like the monkey with like the symbols on the front of the ship, and it's all just kind of really funny and lighthearted, which is, I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that this was just kind of like a big foreshadowing setup arc, and they like really didn't take it too seriously. They like really injected the zany comedy into it. But then it just takes like a wild turn when the hyena is playing cards with like that executioner guy. I can't remember his name, I just remember his title. And he's like, I win at cards, and he like puts his hand down and the hyena stabs him through the hand, and like the executioner guy, his symbol is a hanged man. But then the hyena like shoots him, sets him on fire, and throws him out a window. Like, it got a bit darker than I was expecting, and it felt like it took a really abrupt turn. But not to the story's detriment at all. Like, it did feel like a good introduction to the like unhinged insanity of that hyena character and his like weird face that he's constantly pulling. I did think it was funny that the hyena represents adult Naruto, though. Not represents adult Naruto, but like looks like that face and the blonde hair. It reminded me of adult Naruto when I was reading it, and I was like, I wonder if that's like a, hey, I'm paying homage to your character. I wonder if Oda and whoever wrote Naruto are like secretly best friends, and like it was just a cheeky nod to him or something. Or if it's just a random coincidence. I mean, he's just a tall blonde guy that can do stuff. Maybe I'm just reading too far into it. But in my head, I like to think that, Oda and whoever wrote Naruto are secretly best friends, and he just wanted to put the character in. I will say, though, that I didn't really quite understand what happened at the bar. Like, at the bar scene, when Luffy is there and they're, like, kind of asking about Sky Island, and Nami has made the boys promise not to fight. And the hyena comes up and buys Luffy a drink. And when Luffy's taking a drink, he like smashes him into the bar. And Luffy says to Zoro, like, don't fight. We're just gonna chill and like walk away and just kind of let them beat us up. I didn't really understand that moment, and I know that it tried to explain it to me, but I just didn't really understand that. So if somebody does have a better understanding than me, I would appreciate that explained to me. Unless it's explained to me in the next arc, then, don't worry about it, or still do anyway. But I think that moment that I just talked about where, Luffy's taking the drink and then Old Mate smashes him into the bar, I think that did a great deal of setting us up to hate the hyena and making us feel a lot of satisfaction when Luffy beats him up. Because so much of this story, especially like Luffy's story and like Usopp to a lesser degree, has been about like the honor of a duel, has been about, honor between enemies. And in that moment, obviously, it wasn't honor between enemies, it wasn't the honor of a duel, it was like a surprise smashing Luffy into a bar kind of thing. And in my opinion, Luffy represents divine justice. Luffy is like karma, but with a lot more action behind him. I don't know how to explain it, but in my mind, Luffy represents like divine justice. So in that moment, there is no divine justice because Luffy, gets like cheap shotted, and then he just is like, Zoro, don't fight. Let's just walk away. When what we would expect is Luffy to be very, like, angry or upset. Like, if that happened to, say, like, Zoro or Usopp or whatever, Luffy would be so mad because it was against divine justice. It was a divine injustice. And as a force of karma, he would make it right by beating the crap out of the other person. I hope that rant just made sense. It made sense in my mind, but I sincerely hope it made sense in yours. Just something random I wanted to mention. I really enjoyed Mont Blanc's Cricket's house. Like how it was just a little house, but he's got like a big billboard poster thing to make it look like a castle. It's just something so like ridiculous and dumb, but I did really enjoy it. And I mean, it got me thinking, like, is that something we could do in the real world? Like, if I had like a real little crappy house, could I like just build a billboard? And could I hire a good enough artist to like draw a 3D mansion on this billboard to surround my house? I'm sure it's doable, and like I just wanted to appreciate that idea. I really like how many moving pieces they decided to add into this saga. Like the Whitebeard pirates, we got to meet Whitebeard pirate finally. The Blackbeard pirates, we got to see what Shanks was up to. We got to see what Buggy was up to. We got to meet the World Council and see that they're all meeting there to talk about Luffy and to replace Crocodile. And in that moment, we also get, one of the Blackbeard pirates has rocked up there to put the captain's name forward to replace Crocodile. And the council says something along the lines of, we can't just put like a no-name pirate into that position and nobody knows who the Blackbeard captain is. And the representative of the Blackbeard pirates says, he's very strong, he's very great, and nobody knows him, but we're about to rectify that with something big. So you know that something big's coming, and you know that they're around where like Luffy is, so you can expect that it's going to involve Luffy. But the other thing is that when that water spout shoots up and you blast them into the sky, the panel shows, little pieces of Blackbeard's pirate ship floating in the water. So we can presume that Blackbeard's boat was also caught up in that water spout, so they will also probably be in Sky Island. We also get another little piece of exposition in this story where we learn that Whitebeard the pirate was around during Gold Roger's time, and he was Gold Roger's equal. Like they fought and it like ended in a stalemate or something. And since Gold Roger was executed, Whitebeard has become the like strongest pirate, and he is the one that is closest to finding One Piece. So that was just an interesting piece of exposition, and it will be really interesting to see in future episodes if Ace has to fight Luffy, and if Ace will betray Whitebeard the pirate because obviously Luffy is his brother, so maybe he will betray Whitebeard to save Luffy's life. That's a prediction that I am not scared to make. I have a feeling that that would be a pretty logical arc to happen. Like, I feel like that's a pretty logical arc being set up right now that shows that, you know, Ace is really high ranking in Luffy's enemy's army. So either, you know, Luffy might have to fight Ace, or Ace might betray Whitebeard. But whatever, I'm sure that's like weeks away, so we won't even worry about that. And at this point in the saga, that's really all I can talk about. That's really all that I will do for this review, because, you know, all I can say is that I did get the feeling that there was a hell of a lot of foreshadowing here. There was a hell of a lot of, like, just moving chess pieces into the positions that they need to move into. I think that the next chapter, the next arc is like 100 chapters long, so that will probably be a two-parter. And in all honesty, after I finish the next arc, I might even come back and reread this one and do a video on just like, you know, look at all this amazing foreshadowing I missed. You know, maybe I'll do that as just like an extra video, because this is only 18 chapters long, and I believe that after the next arc is only like 20 chapters long, so I could easily do both of those videos in the same week. But obviously that's getting ahead of myself, and I don't want to make any promises that I can't keep. Anyway, so I enjoyed this. I enjoyed, like, the recontextualization. I enjoyed how, like, goofy and funny and lighthearted it was. It was really nice just to get back to that, considering how serious the Alabasta arc was, because that, like, last arc was the culmination of so much. You know, the story was so grand, the scope was so big, the enemy was so strong, and it made for a great story. You know, we lost the princess, you know, there was a big bloody warfare, there was, you know, all this stuff going on, so it was nice to just, like, ride that roller coaster of storytelling where, like, you know, everything's building up, but then you get, like, the tension breaking point where everything reaches its climax, and then we're back down here where everything's nice and chill. We got some goofy, fun laughs, all of that foreshadowing, and now, like, it's building back up into the next climax of storytelling that I presume will happen in Sky Island. I presume that they didn't just go all through this for nothing. I presume that I'm going to read the next chapter and they will be in, like, a city in the sky for some reason. One thing before I go is I really like how much everything makes sense in terms of science in One Piece. Right, like when they're talking about everything that they've talked about, you know, I've covered this in some other reviews, like I really enjoy, you know, I don't know too much about the science that they speak about, but the way they explain it, it does seem like it's real. It does seem like these things could be feasible and possible, and like the, you know, writers did their research on it. Including this one when they're talking about, like, the geyser, how it's about, like, cold water currents going into, like, earthquake holes, and then the volcano is heating them up or something until it shoots a geyser. Is that real? Is that how, you know, water spouts really happen? I have no idea. But it sounded like it could be real. It sounded like that's how it would happen. And even when they were talking about how it was possible for an island to be in the sky, and they were talking about, like, clouds that would build on top of each other and become, like, incredibly dense. Is that real? I have no idea, but the way that it was explained and how, like, confidently it was explained, I believe it. I believe it could definitely be a real thing. But anyway, I'm really dying to find out if they end up at this Sky Island or not, so I'm going to go and read that. I did just finish that first arc, and then I started recording this video. I did that straight away so I could then keep reading and see if they made it on top of that cloud or not. I'll see you next week in part 1 of, like, the Sky Island review. Thanks for watching this far into the video. I always appreciate your love and support. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave me a comment down below, give me your thoughts, theories, whatever you want to throw at me. I always love it. And as always, thank you very much.